Alright. I'm back. Actually I should tweet about that. Okay. Twittering. I don't think I have messages on there. Okay. So I need to continue to come up with some more puzzles for the dice face area. So these were the ones I came up with last time. Or pulled, I guess, from elsewhere. Let's see. So this was... So we got 6 here, which makes that pretty tricky. So that's 3 and that's 3. 6. So I've definitely got too many there. Almost right, but not. Yeah, last time I like, that's why I unsolved it, was just kind of to see, okay, what's the difficulty level on this puzzle, because I wanted to try to make some difficult but not as big puzzles to kind of go maybe here or something. This one seems pretty tricky just because you've got so many here that gives you a lot of possibilities on a 6. Chat on my phone, even though probably nobody's watching. I don't know if anybody's streaming in particular. Handmade Heroes streaming. Okay, well, that's fine. Maybe people can come by after Handmade Hero and check out the stream. See, this one was supposed to be tricky because you can't do this. You can't do that. So you have to... Like, it seems, on the face of it, seems impossible, but it's really not. I don't know why I have this down here, though. I guess because it makes it even, and it makes it... Well, I guess, yeah. It makes it to where you can do it that way or this way. So let me look at this puzzle here. Actually need to clear this chat. I'm on my phone, still got all the old chat on. Which is kind of confusing. Let's see, how many does that have? 32 different solutions. Looks like they're all variants of the same thing, yeah, so they're fine. Like, they're just all variants. The key is that. Because, like I said, on the face of it, you think, okay, well, like if I do this, how am I going to isolate that? I can't isolate it that way, so you have to do something else. Now this one I can go ahead and do that because I know those are got to be lit. But because this is a 3, it could combine with that, and could combine with that. But and that would be like that. So, yeah. So I can't really put that up the other way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I see, so I just wrap around to leave out those two. Alright. This one's easy. It's not bad, though. Like, that's kind of supposed to be one that seems like it would be difficult, but it isn't, maybe. That is also easy. See, we got 2 there. Yeah, there we go. So, I'd say those overall are not bad. What's up with this one? That one was really easy. I didn't realize I was going to be streaming during the Handmade Hero time slot. But that's fine. Okay, so I need some more puzzies. Let's just grab, like, this one here and try something else. Because really this one here is the hardest one that I've come up with at this 4x4 size. I want to do some 3x4s and see what there is. Okay, so that's certainly doable. If I do that, it's doable. If I do that, it's... Yeah, that's definitely doable. I wonder is if I do like this. Yeah, it's still doable. Huh. Is there any way I can do this? So I kind of like the fact that that's there and there's also this. Even though I already have that puzzle essentially earlier. But yeah, see, like by default, something like this has a lot of solutions, right? Does it never clear the aborted thing? Let me look into that. I think it might actually not clear that. Yeah, it seems like it doesn't clear the early out. Let's see, that would be in the editor here. Yeah. Okay, so I've got this. Oops. Inline tooltips. I don't really need tooltips or anything, but well, it's right here if panel did early out of solution checking, but it should, generally speaking, do this. Should false that, and then here it will get set. So that should work. It should make it clear when I hit this. But it's not, which is strange. Solve should set that. It's totally finding all of the solutions. So why is it? The solution list count is more than 250. Oh, there might be more solutions than, well. See, that shouldn't abort. I'm gonna try just stopping and starting it again. It seems very strange that it... Okay. So definitely... I think that's why I had that one there, was hoping to find a more unique solution, though. Anywho, see, now it says aborted early, but it doesn't clear after it's aborted once, which is interesting. I don't really understand that. So this says if the solution list count is not 0, then it checks to see if this is true. If it is true, then it puts this. If it's not true, it shouldn't put that at all. I don't really understand why. So if it's calling panel solve here when you hit, where's this button? Hit this button. Okay, it's calling find all solutions, not solve. So solve finds all solutions. Why am I calling this? I don't understand. Why am I calling find all solutions instead of solve? Actually not really sure why. I think that's the problem though, is that I'm calling find all solutions instead of solve. Okay, so solve goes to the next solution is the reason. Whereas if I do find all solutions, it doesn't actually go to the next solution. I see. Okay, so that's why I'm doing it. But I need to make find all solutions do this. So there is a difference. Solve will actually not do that, but we'll set the state to that as well. So yeah, so if I have that, yeah, okay, it works now. Good, good, good. I wanted to, oh, I was 33. So this is like the issue though, is if I ever wanted to do a panel that's 33 by whatever, it's got to be this big. You know, it's like, you know, not as though I think that it's a terrible thing to have a panel that's that big, but it does bog the performance of the game down somewhat. Weird, it doesn't seem like it should actually bog it down based on this. It says that it's running at 70 frames a second, but for some reason it's very stuttery. Interesting. It's having some culling issues with the panel being that big. Must be because the panel's actually like bigger than the screen. Like at the largest. Or it may actually not reset the bounds properly when you do that either. Seems like that's the case. There's no way that'll find solutions for that. There's too many. But I do want to do some puzzles that are this big, though. I have some ideas for that. Mainly having to do with the fact that you could very easily do some type of symbology with these as like pixels in like a blocky type language or something. So there could be puzzles that involve that. Okay, I wanted to do 3x4 puzzles though. I feel like with these panels, I kind of jump, like, well, there's a few things. One is I thought about doing a panel like this, where I just have ones, so you have to just kind of do that to begin with, because some people do seem to get hung on this one, but I also kind of like the fact that you have to make a leap about what does it mean. And then this sequence is pretty good, but this one feels a little bit random on the end. But this 5 here is good. There's no way with a 2 to do that. It's got to be connected one way or the other. But yeah, so there's things like you can do that. There's 2 solutions to that. Yeah, it just feels like with these it's hard to constrain them because so quickly it just kind of turns into different stuff. You know? It turns into so quickly it turns into like a mess where there's just a lot of things you can do. If I set this here, then it's like I pretty much have to do it that way. And that in itself is kind of interesting. But yeah. Well, interesting. This says there's other solutions. I guess I don't have to do it that way. I can do that. I do 4 though. What do we have to do? We do that. Like The interesting way to do 4 is to do it that way. But it's hard because it's like I can like lock this, and lock that, and lock that, to where they all have to be like this, but it becomes very hard to set up a panel in a way where it's forced that you do something interesting rather than boring, you know, because it's like I can easily do that, or I could easily do well, I don't know. Obviously there's these variants, but that one's interesting, but only really interesting if I set it a specific way. Like even if I do -2, -2, there's still like all these different possibilities of ways to do it. But if I go like this and say, well, it's gotta be like this, then it's like, okay, that's gotta be like that. And now I only have a few things, right? But at a certain point, you know, you get to be so prescriptive that it's like, well, I gotta do this and that. It's not terrible, but like even this has 3 solutions. Because we don't have to combine that. I don't know, that's the frustrating thing about this mechanic though. Because I can't really specify that this has to be connected with that or whatever. I guess I could in a certain sense, but you know, like if I made the dots different colors, where it's like red dots, like these are red and these are blue, and like then I'd say, well, red can only combine with red and blue can only combine with blue. Then I can have like 3 different colors here that have to be separated, but I don't know, it doesn't really make sense to do it that way. If I lock that on, down to 5, so down to 3. Lock that. It's still one solution. Well, that's not terrible, at least. Gonna move this. Move this. These 2. So like just by virtue of locking that, So then I'm gonna save this, but I've got a question about whether or not I can get it like I want by locking it. Streaming during the Handmade Heroes. Yeah, I have quite a few of my friends are from that community, so I don't think that's anything. It's nothing. It's just my dog being disturbed by the sound of creaking. So if I do this, that gives me 24 solutions. What if I lock that? Okay, that locks me down to 10. What if I lock it like this? 14. So even though I can definitely do that, it doesn't force it enough. So this one's forced where it has to be like that on account of that it has this one there. Interesting. So if I do this and then lock the middle one on, what do I get? 3 solutions. Okay, so there's that, and that, and that. So, but if I put this here, then I just get the 1. In fact, probably even, well, okay. So it has to be locked. This one's kind of better though because it's an implicit lock. Whereas this is an explicit lock. Because that one's obviously got to be on, and that one's obviously got to be on. Just as that and that have got to be on. But here it's like I've got some more options about where I put the other one. So I think I'm gonna go with that one for that. And try something different for a different puzzle here. Let's see. So 6 means I have to do that. Or this. Kind of like 5. That. This is the only solution there. It's pretty basic. I feel like I should do one that's like, that is tall. That's like 6 by. aren't any solutions to that. Nope, there's some solutions. So, say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we just have to notch a spot somewhere else. If I did that this way. That's possible because of the 6. It's just too many. This is a 6 times 4. So it's got enough spots on it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just hard to make stuff like this super interesting. Hello, Thordor A. Yeah, the way these work is it has to be an area that's as many tiles as indicated by the number of squares on there. So for 5, it's got to be 5, right? The diagonals do not count in this case. It's just a solid area. In fact, in the case of like this, the fact that the diagonals don't count is something that like you have to explicitly use sometimes. I already have a whole like area of these, right? Puzzles, but I'm trying to come up with some better kind of mid area puzzles where like, because I've got some decent end puzzles, although none of them are particularly brutal. I just don't really have any kind of middle of the road difficulty ones. But middle of the road is actually kind of hard to find with these puzzles. You kind of end up in a messy situation where they all sort of feel the same. And I was doing some that combined with the dot mechanic in some interesting ways, but I could perhaps do some of these, I suppose. Trying to do some more of these snake ones, but just trying to come up with some stuff, see what there is. Let's see if I do like a narrow but quite tall puzzle, how that works out. When you do something like a 6, then it can be tricky just because there's so many different like ways you can do it. It's not always clear what way to do it. But I think, yeah, I mean, sometimes that's the concern, is I don't want it to feel too constrained, but I also want to encourage interesting solutions. Like this one, if I don't design it that way, then there's like so many different random solutions that past a certain point, a lot of the puzzles feel the same, you know, because since they're about area, it's like if I have a 6, any puzzle with a 6 is going to be, it's basically going to have the shape, like one of these shapes in it, right? And they can combine, right, and make different shapes, but when you add more tiles, you kind of get more possibilities. Like if you have more numbers, there's more possibilities. Whereas if you do like a panel that's like that, well, there's only one solution, really. I mean, these don't matter, but as far as tiles that matter, there's only one solution. But as soon as you start adding more dots, you've got more possibilities. It's like, well, it could get combined that way or that way. And that's fine. It's just, it gets hard to design puzzles that have a level of complexity, but also only have one solution instead of like 25 or more. My voice is not doing well for some reason. You know, and having the opposite colors is interesting, you know, because in this situation it's like, okay, well, how do I combine that and that, right? Based on the need for something else. What if, I don't know, I always find it interesting to try just patterns. And then see whether they're doable. So it's because that, see that, because it's always going to be in the middle, it's like I have to have some kind of it's not doable that way. Interestingly enough. Yeah. It's hard with certain mechanics to not end up in the well of complexity, and I don't mind having some deductive puzzles. Like I would like, in fact, for this area to have at least 1 or 2 puzzles that are tricky, but you have to deduce the answer. I'll just restart this. It's always easier to just restart it. Anyway, I was going somewhere with this one. Because you could do like this and then get 2 here and 2 there. And then you could get I feel like that needs to be a 2 though. Plus I end up with these things that feel very top down. not a huge fan of. It's not terrible, but it feels kind of weird. Generally, my concern is if I feel like it's too easy to solve, even though it's got a lot of stuff. I mean, it's okay to a certain extent for it to be easy, but nah, I don't know. Save that panel and then try a different variant. But yeah, it's very hard to come at one like this where you're like, well, I kind of want it to combine things in interesting ways. I have a 3 there, and it's like, it feels a little better just because there's more ways to combine them. Extra down here. That's just based on that. This is tricky. I don't know if this is doable. A streamy? I mean, yeah, I guess so. Like, the puzzles, generally speaking, are intended to kind of just flow, and you just go through, and most of the surprise and interest comes from like new ideas or new ways of thinking about the puzzles themselves or the mechanic that you're interacting with or whatever. But I also kind of like to have occasionally some puzzles where they're more difficult than they seem like they would be. I think this is impossible, but I really don't know. Don't think there's any way to get that. It's just because of this extra 2 here. Like this one extra one. Like I feel like even if I had this extra, then that makes it easier. But yeah, I think generally that's the design of the puzzles is mostly meant to me like, you know, you just kind of go through a flow of ideas, but you know, as you go through, there's like different variations where it's like you get to these and it's like, oh, okay, this is a little bit strange, but you solve it and then it's like, oh, okay, I see. Well, I've got no clip turned on, but you know, it's like, oh, okay, I see. And then so you have to solve. You know, so then you have to solve all these puzzles in a way that you can like walk through and stuff like that. So, just trying to be surprising, but not necessarily super deductive. Like it's okay if there's a little wiggle room on stuff. That would work if I did this as one there, but then you could also do this, which would be like super straightforward, which is maybe fine. Like it's okay to have those, but I kind of like already do have at least one that's like that. This one is like that. There's a thing where you can look at it and be like, this is very tricky, but then you can also just be like, oh wait, no, it's like super simple. I don't think this works, but you can probably do some variant of that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 2, 1, 2, 1. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, there's a lot of variance there, right? Which is kind of annoying. It's like, even if I make something like that where the goal is for somebody to be like, oh, it's that, obviously, right? The nature of the mechanic makes it to where that doesn't necessarily work, and they could come up with a crazy thing, right? Which is fine, but I don't have any way to constrain somebody to do it this way, other than locking tiles, which is okay if I can lock like a tile like this, where it's relatively unobtrusive. But I think even if I made this like one shorter, well, I probably would have to do it that way then, because the amount of tiles that there are. so then that becomes just a thing like that that's supposed to be pretty straightforward, I guess, to solve. You just have to notice. So I don't know, I guess that's the thing, is like I'm torn on certain panels like that where I like that it can be a straightforward thing if you just notice, but I also want to have a panel that's not that straightforward and actually takes some thinking but doesn't have a million solutions. And I have a few over here that are like that, but not many. I'm not sure why I drew that on there. I guess I wanted to have one that you solved that way, but I don't really know why. I think you do solve this one that way. Yeah, so whereas this one is like I don't remember what this one is. I think you start like this. Yeah. That one. So those are cool, but I kind of wanted one that's a bit of a jumble, but requires you to think like, okay, I gotta, like everything should feel like you need to figure out actually what's going on. Which is more like, like doing something like that, I guess, but I don't even know if that's possible. Of course it is, but then it's trivial. Getting closer just on account of what it felt like to have to do that. Make that like -2 and then make that 2. And that can go that way as well, is the problem. This here. Still go that way though. I guess I put this here. That's doable now. So I'm stuck with that sticking out. Yeah, see, like, how this is kind of at the bottom is how I'm trying to make something, is where I kind of build up gradually to something that's complex, which is a bit of a top-down way to design a puzzle, which is not usually what I do, but if it's done right, it has a certain different feel to it that I'm kind of okay with. Oh yeah, I forgot this has this weird sound in this one track. I'll listen to something else. I liked this one, but there's a that's fine. Okay, so why is this not happy? Because this one. Let's see. Can do it by combining that too and that too. That would be like putting the 2 down there, but so the problem is every time you make a slight change like that, there's a possibility that just because I shifted the 2 there, that now something else is possible as a solution. Doesn't look like it though. It looks like that's pretty much the solution. I don't think my solution checker will be able to find it. Well, I guess it did. Kind of works. Alright, so we'll go with that for now. And then I want to try similar thing, but one wider. Should have been streaming for about an hour. And then drop in some frames. Yeah. Drop the bitrate down slightly. So hopefully I don't drop frames. Okay, so let's see here. So if I take this, instead of doing it the way that I did before, first off I'll try this and just see what that is like. Still looks like there's, well, that works. Problem is this though. Three or five. That's tricky. I don't know if it is possible. That was 4, then that would work. That was like a 2. And then that would be a possible thing. So that one's actually kind of tricky. Just because like there's a few things like that where I just have to do that to isolate those. Not terrible. But it is strange, like, with these, this particular mechanic is... I mean, I found it with most of the things, like, if you put more symbols, then the solutions get more constrained and simpler. Because it's like, you know... in the case that I would put one of these dots on every single tile, well then it has to be like, it would have to be like this basically. And if I have a panel that looks like that, well then it's super constrained, right? Because all these have to be a specific thing, and so it's not really, there's no real challenge to that. Whereas if I remove half of them, just kind of randomly just say, well, okay, we're gonna remove these, then it's like probably impossible actually, because there's no way I can like isolate everything that needs to be isolated. But yeah, I don't know. Huh. That might be fine to have these puzzles. I just kind of got to figure out where they go in the area. I wanted one to replace this, which would be a 5x5, basically. Whereas I kind of liked these. And I liked these. I just wanted to replace that. So I need to make a 5x5 is what that means. So let's make a 5x5. Not that all those puzzles need to be the same size, but it is kind of what it is. Okay, so I was doing something with 6s, but the thing with 6s is those are 3s. The thing with 6 is that it's pretty easy. All 6s. I don't know if there's enough here, actually. Okay, there is. If I do that, like, that's super easy, right? Because there's only one unaccounted for tile, like we know no matter what. These all have to be on, and everything else, because if we add 6 times 4 is 24, right? It's the 5 times 5, 5x5 grid, which means there's 25. There's only one tile that's not going to be lit, and it doesn't matter which one it is, so. I could do another wall puzzle, like, because I have so many of those, but I don't really have, well, I kind of like the idea of one that you have to do, like, you have to go over this way, and then go that way, and then go that way if you want to go, like, around. Like, you can't just go this way, but I'm not really sure what that puzzle would be. That. I got some leeway. I only got 5 free. So this looks like it's got too many. Like, there's not really any good way for me to no way for me to actually... I guess I can do that. So then that means you can do anyone that way. But I can't see any way you could force you to do it other than just by the shape of something. Like if you did a surrounding wall to that, let me set that up as a solid tile thing and hide panel background. So like if you set that up like this, then it would work. Let's see. I think that would work, but I'm not entirely certain. Have I tried making a thingy to generate puzzles? I could theoretically do it because I do have a thing that I don't have that set up right now because I forgot to save the layout. Like I already have a thing that checks for solutions, but if I was going to make a thing that generated puzzles, then it would have to generate something based on some heuristics, because as is, like when I get to a 5x5 here, like this is how long it takes to try to find the solution, and then it's still I have to have it aboard, because if I have stuff go on too long, it screws up. And I think I blame mostly C# for that C# just not very fast, but still a brute force check just takes a long time. Let's see, I think that was like this, wasn't it? But yeah, see, you can do like that, and then you could go this way. But you'd have to make the area around it a little bit different too. Because this would have to go like, let's see, down, and then that would go over here. And you'd make it like that, basically. So if you make a thing that way, then you wouldn't have to solve it. Which is cool, but also a bit contrived. It's like kind of cooler when you have a puzzle that just naturally does something weird like that. But no, I actually haven't made something just to generate puzzles, because I don't expect that it would make particularly great puzzles. But yeah, see, this works, because then it's like, okay, if I want to go up here, I have to go here, and then I have to go like that, right? Or you can go that way, I guess, but not easy to do. Let's see. Got some other random ideas about what you could do. Because I can kind of shape these whatever I want, really. I have no idea what this would do. But yeah, okay, that worked. So for example, if I had this and then a 5 in the middle, like you can do it that way, or you can do it that way, right? I can't make it to where you would have to go through, but I guess the other way I do that is with these, because most of these work where you have to stand on these pads. So I do kind of already have that here where you have to do some stuff so that you can get back over here and then solve this way. So it's kind of already covered, but there's something else there that I'm thinking about, and I'm not sure what to call it. Of course you can do this. Which is that's your pro maneuver. Like, I'm not sure I can actually make a better sequence than this, because the way this one works, you have this one which you have to solve this way to go through. Then you got this one, which you can solve a few different ways. You can solve it that way, or really you can go any way you want to go with it. It can be solved. But if I try to solve it like this way, let's see, then that's no good because I can't. Like, the pad for that's actually down there, so. So I have to go down here and then solve this one, which I believe works like this. I'm trying to 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. So you go down there, solve that, then you can go up here, then you can solve this. And this one you have to just solve like this, I believe. So then you have to go back up here and solve that to do that. Or you can go this way, in which case you have this puzzle, which is trivial, fairly trivial, although it's somewhat difficult to get to that point to solve that way. And then this way is the way that you solve it to be able to go through here, which you have to be able to do to go solve this the other way. And then go back through, and then go back up here, and then go up this way. Anyway. So I don't know whether or not I need a better version of that, but hello, awesome here. Yes, we're looking at lots of puzzles because I'm trying to come up with ways to improve this area. And I like this sequence, although maybe it's kind of a mess. And I like some of these puzzles. I could just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 puzzles here and just toss out having a sixth one, but it seemed worth investigating to see if I could come up with another puzzle of that size. For some reason I threw away that idea. I was supposed to be doing that. I guess it was because I did that one with 4 6s in it and didn't really know. Okay. See ya, Thorder A. Sleep well. I'll probably be streaming for a little while longer. I should make sure that this actually functions the way it's supposed to. Just thinking about this though, because if I made this to where it was like, not like that, but required more, then no matter what, it would have to be at least this, right, if I had 6. Actually, if I made this one work, so I keep getting distracted by this, but it's actually kind of interesting. So if I made this work this way, then it would have to be like that, and you would have to do it this way. So that's not terrible. There's nothing to keep you, or to prevent you from kind of like going any way you want to go though. Like it's not like, well, you have to kind of do it that way. The reason I have this weird shape here is because initially I had a panel that you had to go like around and through. So I was kind of doing that same thing, but with the environment around the panel. Anyway, let's look at this. So I feel like there should be something I can do at this size with 6s, but I'm not sure what. Well, I know I can do it this way. At least I think I can. Yeah. Not that interesting though. It's really hard to come up with something with 6s that is any good. You're too easy. I don't know. I think I'll just take what I've got down here that I liked the best, which is... I kind of like all these, but... one that much. But I'd say like the really good ones are this one, this one, this one. This one's not great, but it's okay. So then I'll pull these out. So the rest of these. I'm gonna go over here in the tentative stuff. I gotta figure out what order these go in. Seems like I'm still dropping. Gosh, I can't not stream at a decent bit rate. Alright. Okay, let's see. So the ones I liked were over here. Right. Yeah. So I just gotta figure out what's the order. This first one definitely needs to go last. I'd say like this one feels almost like it's the same as this one though. I think I'd say this one, then this one, then this one, then that one, and that one. And I'll pull this one back off here. This panel is actually going to get pulled off further over. And we're going to have a set here. Like this. Normally in this area it's like that, but I'm not really sure where to put this one. I can put it down here, or I can put it over here. Got a lot of these puzzles that are set up in a strange way, because like here you could actually do these puzzles because they're on screen. So probably realistically it would be set up more in a way where you would go into like a room that's this, and then it would like scroll over, kind of like Zelda or something, you know, where it would move over to another room that would have these puzzles in it. Maybe I will keep that one up here. This one's actually a pretty simple puzzle. So it's really just there because it's interesting, even though it's simple. Really have no idea how I'm going to lay out these areas entirely, but this one's probably going to end up being an interior thing that you go into. Alright. Phew. My brain is starting to shut down. I don't know if there's anything that really else was jumping to my attention. But that puts some things here. Oh yeah, I need to, if I'm getting rid of this, I need to make this, the layout of this area be different. I don't know what's the hardest one out of all of these, though. I didn't ever really set it up that way. Why am I getting a null reference? Oh, because this door expects that panel to be solved. Guess not. Little panel 150. I guess I need 148 actually to move up. I haven't built a tool for this yet, but it's gonna work slightly differently anyway. Right now I just kind of wire up the door to all the panels that need to be solved, but it's actually going to be like this panel's wired to this panel, and then this panel's wired to this panel, and then the door's just wired to like the panel adjacent to it that needs to be solved. Anyway, hopefully it will not give me a null reference now. Coffee left a really gross taste in my mouth. Yeah, it's pretty hard to say what's the like what's the trickiest one here. I'd say probably this one. But I almost feel like like some of these are a little bit more difficult than these are. I'm gonna put that one on top and move this one down on the left, so that this area is gonna kind of look like this instead. It's not a super duper boss puzzle, unfortunately. Which is kind of what I'd like to have. Like, I'd like to have the last puzzle be really difficult, but this one's kind of the most difficult one I could come up with, and it's not even really that hard. Something that would be interesting would be to have a whole maze or something with a bunch of little puzzles in it that you have to solve. Like a bunch of these kind of puzzles that you have to solve. Like these wall ones. Like, so you solve it to make the maze solvable. That might be interesting. I wonder how that would work. Like if I had a maze of some kind. It's actually kind of hard to figure out how to make a maze. Seems like it'd be easier to do it in a pixel art program to begin with. So then you can just kind of carve the maze, right? Ah. Like about maze design typically, like whether you do loops more often or not. Seems to me if you wanted a maze to be more tricky, you would not do loops. I forgot 16 is kind of a bad size for this because it doesn't have a middle pixel. Although I guess you can make loops and then close them off. Making mazes. Amazing. Amazing mazes. I guess you can have loops in a maze, it's okay. just wondering, like, if I do a puzzle that way, it has to have room in it for, like, some panels. So for example, if I take a big panel, like, big old panel. Let's make it 17 by 17, which is how big that one thing is, and make it one of these. Then it feels like what makes sense is to do like little 8 by 8 segments or something where I have to kind of figure out where I'm going. Yeah, this is going to be a hard thing to design, actually, now that I think about it. Just because it's not actually very easy to build something like that. You know, if I make a panel that's like, okay, here, this part's a panel, right? You get to here. It's kind of tricky. It feels like the easiest thing would be to use a series of these kind of things and have a maze set up that way. Like either that or the straight through things. Seems like it might be better, yeah. So if rather than making that totally wrap around, I made it kind of each one goes off in its own separate direction. That might work. This is a tough thing to build. Making mazes that are non-trivial is actually non-trivial. Seems like. Hopefully this is interesting to anyone watching. Gotta have mazes. They're always worthwhile, aren't they? Something I haven't listened to in a while. Video game music, something I haven't listened to in a while. Really not sure how this is going to work out. This is like just a weird idea that seems like it might generate something interesting. But probably not. maze. So then really it's just a matter of taking, like, some junctures in it and letting you swap out pathways, I guess. Probably a dumb idea, but you know, whatever. So anyways, instead of being that, it would probably just be like... I don't know about this weird maze. Like, I already have one kind of maze thing, but... I don't know. I'll have to think about it. How long have we been streaming? 2 hours, 16 minutes. Seems like a really hard thing to just build ad hoc. I'm like not sure what would make it good, as opposed to just basically being a maze with something annoying on top, layered on top of it. Which on the one hand is fine, but on the other hand, it's like, well, I tried to, generally speaking, not make the game annoying. Unless I specifically make it to where it's got parts of the maze that you have to go through one way and then go through another way, it wouldn't really pay off the fact that you can interact with the panels and can solve them in different ways. And I don't know that that's significantly different than this, where you go through one way and then another way. It's just more obfuscated. Anyway, yes, I am going to end the stream here, I think. But, thanks to anybody that stuck around. As always, you can follow the development of the game on the blog. Which I should probably put a link to that at the bottom of the screen instead of the Twitter. But you can follow me on Twitter. My handle is at mvandevender. It's the same as it is on Twitch. Of course, follow the channel if you're not doing that already. If you want to support development of the game, there's Patreon, which you can support me so that maybe if I got enough money a month, I could just do this and stream more days a week. Could probably stream every weekday if I wanted to, or at least 2 or 3 times a week. Anyway, so thanks for joining me, and I will see you around. Oh, one more thing I wanted to point out, because I seem to forget to do this a lot. I need to have a better page name on here, but there is a playlist of all of my development streams, so you can go subscribe to that playlist if you want on YouTube and keep up with any streams that you might have missed. So again, thanks for joining, and I will see you around.